Sore. When you hit a bucket of balls yesterday, I'm sore as fuck. I hurt my sore. Yeah, I'm sore, man.
Okay, and now welcome to episode 4, I believe. It's not been that many episodes, and I'm already forgetting. But today we're going to have another member of the Discord community who I'm sure a lot of you know is David the Deadlifter. David, please introduce yourself.
How's it going? My name's David, obviously. I've been lifting for 3 years now. I am 18. I've been in the Discord for a little over 2 years, kind of been in and out. But yeah, I'm a powerlifter. I've kind of built a name for myself slightly. Just kind of excited to get into this, yeah.
Yeah, so David, something deceptive that people can't really tell on camera or video is weight classes or even heights in especially powerlifting with weight classes and everything. Tell us more a bit about your weight class that you plan on competing in.
So yeah, my first meet in June, I compete in the 125 kilogram, or that's what I'm planning to compete in this summer. I'm 6'5", so on camera it doesn't really show, but if you look at videos on Instagram or other stuff and kind of compare me to like a basic plate or just like a squat rack, you can kind of see I'm a bit taller than average. So 125. I can fit into it very easily right now, and I think it'll be something I can definitely grow into in the future. So I'm excited.
Oh, nice. So, where is this meet exactly? I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere close to where you live.
Yeah, so I live in Oregon in a small town. I'm not gonna disclose exactly where. But it's like 2.5 hours away. It's one of the few meets we have in Oregon per year. I mean, I think in total we have about 15 per year. It's only 1 or 2 per month. And it's not a big community, but it's pretty fun. And I mean, and we have Kabuki Strength in Portland, so it is definitely going to be an interesting meet. I'm excited, and
Oh.
it's located in Newport, Oregon. So it'll be located at.
Oh, nice. So that means anyone who's in this Discord who's nearby you could actually drop by and see you live.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, if you are within like an hour or two and you just want to check out a powerlifting meet, swing by. I mean, I've got myself and 2 other lifting buddies I know from my town that moved up to Portland that are going, and it should be a really good time. I'm definitely going to be breaking at least one record there, and maybe another one. So we'll see. Should be a fun time.
No, no, actually, speaking about records, this is something I think that's really interesting about your side. So you said you've trained for about like roughly 2 to 3 years, but was all that training? Did you start out completely as a powerlifter, or were you also into that whole beginner phase where you just did whatever you thought you saw on YouTube from like really popular influencers and stuff?
Oh, definitely. So I when I started lifting, I started with like very basic movement. I started in 2019, back in like March, April. And I actually started with a personal trainer at my gym. My mom got me signed up for a couple sessions. So I did that. And it was very awkward because this personal trainer was very into like high repetition, low weight stuff. So I was 100, no, sorry, I was 295 pounds at the time. I'd done some slight running before, and I was benching just a 45-pound bar, 200 kg bar, or not 20 kg bar for just like 10, 15 reps, and it was like barely nothing. So after I got done with those sessions, I started just doing like online stuff, random workouts, David Lade motivation stuff, just basic things, mostly working on my bench press. And then I'd say about 6 months into it, I started talking to and meeting more guys my age in the gym. After I kind of experimented with deadlifts and kind of gotten up to about a 365 to 385 pound deadlift. And I got talking to them, and then I found out what powerlifting was, and I will be training powerlifting for 3 years around October, November of this year. So
Oh, interesting, interesting. So you actually got like close to a 4 plate deadlift on just random workouts alone. That's really amazing, honestly.
Essentially, yeah. I got up to when I hit 4 plates for the first time. Um, it was after a random like did 365 for a set of five, then did 385 for a set of three, and one of the random friends that I now have that I've been friends with for the past, almost 3 years. They were just like, "Why don't you just try 4 plates?" And I have the video still, and it's kind of crazy to see where I started. But
Yeah, that's something that's really interesting to look at later on, almost like seeing where you started versus where you are now. But seeing how you started going, why powerlifting specifically? Like, what was it that was
so
appealing?
I definitely, as by my Instagram name, I'm definitely a very big fan of deadlifts. And one of my initial motivations with lifting was like strongman and seeing Brian Shaw and Eddie Hall do all those like super super heavy deadlifts. So I'd always liked deadlifting, and I wanted to do strongman, but I was like, oh, I'm so young and I don't want to like get super fat. I just want to like tone down and lean down. So I started looking more in the fitness industry, seeing what there was, and I liked benching. I always liked benching. Um, because I just wanted to be able to like do push-ups, have a big chest. So that was the basic movement. Um, and it really was seeing people like John Hack and like Jamal Browner, like the really big but still relatively lean and cut like
Like pretty
powerlifters.
jacked, like buff dudes.
Yeah. Another one that isn't really well known. I'm saying this right. Nicholas Perez. He's in the 125 class, and he is just completely cut. Another one that I really like that's got popular recently. Shane Hunt. He is
Oh
a
yeah, shit.
monster. But seeing people like that, that was like, okay, I want to look like this and be strong. And it would still set me up for a good foundation if I wanted to do strongman in the future. So that's kind of where I started with that, and it's just been ever since. I've just been addicted and kept with it, and I just can't stop.
Yeah, yeah. So throughout your whole about close to 3 years journey with powerlifting, how have you felt like? How would you say you've matured from the first time you went to the gym to you finding what powerlifting is to how you are now, with your current deadlift with I believe is 275, I believe.
279 as of this Wednesday.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh my, you have a clip of that, right?
yeah, I do have a clip of that. It's in the Discord if you want to look at it.
Okay, yeah. So that's so
Yeah,
279 kilograms is I believe about 610 or 612 pounds for
it's
American.
it's it's like yeah, it's like 615, 616. So yeah,
So that's a
it's
over 600 pound deadlift, ladies and gentlemen. That's huge.
yeah. I with starting lifting, it it was very much like I want to get stronger. I want to be able to be the strongest person I know. And it was just that was the big mentality, and it was just doing that. Then and also like the I want to look better. I want to get girls, like the basic. I was a sophomore when I started, so it was the very basic like sophomore, freshman, high schooler mentality, or ninth, 10th grade year for people in not America, basically. But I I had that mentality for about a year, and I just hammered myself on weights. I put everything into the gym, and it was my outlet. I mean, it was from growing up. I always had so much pent up like anger and aggression issues. So I really enjoyed being able to just throw myself into the gym, and anytime I'm around a barbell, I'm very much comfortable. Um, and what helped is where I work out, and still work out to this day, is where I work. So I got a free membership, and for a teenager, being able to walk a mile to the gym, work out, go to work, it just worked out like perfectly. So I just did that for about a year, and then when COVID hit, is when my mentality started to change a little bit. Um, and while I was lifting through about this first year period before COVID happened, I was not necessarily tracking my eating 100%, but there was rough tracking there. I knew I was getting enough protein, and that's all I really cared about. And I was watching my weight. My weight was fluctuating about 275 to about 255. In about 6 months' time, I was losing a little bit of weight, but it wasn't anything crazy. And before COVID happened, I had gotten up to a 500-pound deadlift, but that was where I got capped out, and it was very much a mental thing for me. Along with the technique thing, I was very sloppy and very much rip and grip deadlifter at the time. Just brute force form was there. It wasn't terrible, um, and it was just it was it's very interesting to see now, especially. But that happened. My bench, I'd gotten about 275 pounds, so a 125 kg bench. Um, wasn't pause, was very much a touch and go rep, and wasn't really powerlifting legal. And then for squat, I think I was at about a 375 to 385 squat, which is, I believe, 175, 170 for kilograms. Um, and it was I was kind of, I was just getting very burnt out doing the same thing over and over. For deadlift, really, I hadn't done a working set of just basic reps in like ages. I always did burnouts with 405 pounds, so 4 plates. I would try to do triples with 455, just kind of, overloading a little bit, understanding the concepts, but not really having knowledge or looking into things at all. Um, and when COVID hit and I was out of the gym for 2 to 3 months, it was very much okay. I need to see what I can do to try to not come back and be a complete potato and go back to the fat gamer kid I was before I lifted. I mean, I literally, like, before lifting, it was very much your basic playing video games for 3 to 4 hours a day, eating random snacks, not watching weight, and very unathletic. Um, but I was tall. I was tall, and I had always been able to uh, overpower other people my age just because of like size and general basic strength alone from that size. So with COVID, my mentality went from that want to get girls, push myself every time I'm in the gym, doing all this stuff, very like old school Arnold, Tom Platz mentalities,
West
where
Side.
you're not really pushing until you're like feeling like your muscles completely break down, going to failure all the time, not really recovering well before going into your next session. Um, and so with COVID, I started watching a lot of Derek from More Plates, More Dates, Jeff Nippard. I was watching a lot of Calgary Barbell at the time, and I was also very active in the Picturefit Discord. And with doing all that, and with having especially a big community to learn from, and a lot of older people and more experienced lifters and people nutritionally wise, especially in the nutrition aspect, because because even though I have, that 279 kilogram deadlift, and I'm benching 140 plus, I'm still very much new in the aspects of nutrition, and still learning how to program myself. I'm understanding things, and I would say as a lifter, I'm in the intermediate spectrum, but outside the gym, I'm very much a newbie on everything else. Um, I Out of probably a lot of people in the Discord, I have one of the worst nutritions. I can stomach eating the same thing over and over again, but when I binge, it's bad. Um, but so yeah, I learned all that, and there was that 2 months where I was just learning all this stuff and absorbing all this info, and as soon as gyms opened up, I was able to apply it. And I didn't really, the first about month, I'd say, I went to go max out all the time, trying to see if I can get my old maxes back. And that happened for a couple weeks. And then I was like, all right, I need to stop and build from the bottom up, get back to where I was and just work on progressing sets, weights, and over 2 weeks, making sure I'm able to move a set better than last time or add weight to the set for the same amount of reps, that kind of stuff. And I got back to about where I was. I got a 5 pound deadlift PR, which was another sloppy PR. And then I finally was like, I think it's time I hop on a program. Because again, in the Picturefit Discord, I was realizing all these people were running programs, and I was the only person that had actually made significant newbie gains without running a program. So I was like, all right, this is where I'm gonna run a program. And at the time, Jamal had released his first deadlift program, like you were saying.
Oh, yeah.
And my buddy and I, who I lift with still, he wanted to run it and I wanted to run it, so we both bought it. And I ran that program for the 12 weeks it went. And my deadlift in that program went from, I think at the time of starting the program, my deadlift was at 545 pounds, so 247 kg, something about that.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, and it went up 40 pounds while I lost about 15 to 20 pounds. So it went up very, very well. And I wouldn't say my technique changed as much, but I definitely got to tweak things because I got lighter and I got leaner. So I went from 545 pounds to 585, so 6 plates. And I got that lift and I was very happy with it. And while the time I was still following this program, but my nutrition was really bad. Sleep was okay, but I was still staying up super late, focusing on school, going out on the weekends with friends, hanging out, that kind of stuff. And I was still maxing when I shouldn't have been, and kind of training still not like to the most optimal,
Yeah.
It's always about optimal, but I wasn't doing things I wasn't being a smart lifter.
Yeah.
And I got that lift and then I lost it. Like I got there and then I could never hit it again. I was struggling with deadlift. My deadlift was regressing. I had also gotten to a 425, I think, pound squat at the around same time, and then my squat started to regress. Same with my bench. My bench was about 295, 285 at the time, and it was just kind of, things were staggering. So I was like, this isn't good. And then COVID hit again, and my gym closed. And that's when I was like, all right, this is now actually I'm doing things I shouldn't be doing, and I looked more into nutrition and I realized more that I was regressing because I was eating Wendy's every other night and I was going out with friends, and I was not optimizing the things that I could do very easily, where other things were out of control and I just couldn't handle it. Like my outside stresses with school, you can't really handle that unless getting your schoolwork done. But if you're getting stuff done and you're trying to do the best you can, if things aren't working out, you have to just kind of let it slide. But you can work on like your nutrition and your sleep and all the other stuff. So when I got back in the gym again, I was like, all right, this is where I need to start prioritizing my nutrition. And I did, and I started eating really well. I kept about 255, 260-ish still, and I was getting, my deadlifts back up. Things were going well. I started working on my bench press form, and I just started working to get stronger again and kind of rebuild again because it was another 2 to 3 weeks where we were out of the gym because of COVID. And with this, my mentality went to, you're in the gym because you've gotten so far, you can't let yourself stop now. And it matured to just keep going, just keep showing up and doing what you can in the gym. Um, and with that, and getting on more of a program and keeping it more structured and saying, this is, if you want to do this and if you want to actually be successful, because I realized I realized how lucky I was with my strength goals and my strength gains at the time, that I had the potential to uh, reach a higher standard than I thought I could. So I realized I needed to actually put work in and um, focus and actually gain my discipline. So I did that, and I ran, I think, one or two of Jeff Nipper's programs. I ran his bench program and got up to a 3-plate bench before I turned 18. And I kept that same. I just need to get in here, eat right, and just keep myself healthy. And I got everything back up. I got up to my deadlift didn't get all the way up back to 6 plates till later in 2021. Um, but the summer of 2021 is when a lot of things went well. My squat got back up to 455, and my squat started to feel very comfortable along with my bench. And I was very happy with that because both were not things I was necessarily good at. They were strong, but I was not very comfortable with them, and I was very uh, unproficient in them. So with that, it gave me very much more confidence to push my deadlift again. Um, because recovering, I had one injury. I'm going to backtrack a tiny bit. I had one injury from pulling uh, a PR in the December of 2019. So still in that first year of lifting. And that scared me. So I was scared to push deadlift, kind of, especially after 585 6 plates. That was like, all right, this is where it's actual. I have potential of ruining my life over a deadlift. Um, but I kept working on it, and I started actually working on doing beltless things because I wanted to build up my core and my bracing. Um, and with that, I got up to a 565-pound beltless deadlift before I had to get my COVID vaccination and do some traveling. And with that, I was very happy. And then ever since then, it's just been training with Matt Vena and really just kind of drilling myself with the same mentality as then, as I need to focus, I need to set priorities of this training is like a job, and I need to treat it as such and treat it professionally and not go off track. Otherwise, I could ruin the work I've put in up to the point. So.
Yeah, honestly, that's insane. I actually do remember that 565 beltless that you posted in the server. It was actually a big PR for you at the time too. And
Mhm.
man, hearing all this, it's honestly really insane to think about how much you've changed going from, the typical teenager who just found the gym and just found like,
Mhm.
oh my god, dude, I am unstoppable, I'm unbeatable, I just live. Then slowly over time, and obviously COVID wasn't a great thing for a lot of people, but then there's always a silver lining, and for you it was realizing that I need to mature in this. Like you realize that you do have the potential a lot more than a lot of other people, and from there you took it that, you know what, I should actually learn this properly. My genes can only take me so far. There's still going to need to be some
Exactly.
structure, some intelligent programming into there, and it's really inspiring, honestly, to go from, even because like a lot of people out there can be genetically gifted, but because they think that they're the shit, their genes can carry them so far, they never actually get that far because they just stubbornly hammer on the same thing without actually learning anything.
Exactly. I was like, and that's the thing, is I was lucky enough to realize that early, um, because I'd gotten to 5 plates and I was progressing pretty fast at that time. I was able to, deadlifts consistently, just hitting random stuff. doing random things, doing random back workouts. Not really tracking my things, but I was able to still PR about once a month, once every other month. And I got to 500 pounds, and then COVID hit. And with COVID, um, being at a desk all the time and me not being used to it, my posture had really, really worsened. And I don't know if you remember this, but at the time, from sitting so much and from going from being generally physical, walking 2 miles a day, um, there and back from the gym, working about 15 to 20 hours a week while doing school and lifting. Um, I my back, I got a slight bulging disc in my lower back, and I was like out, like completely unable to move, bend over, do anything. And there was a couple nights where I was like, I won't be able to deadlift anymore. I'm done lifting. I
I
can't
remember
do
that.
anything.
Yeah.
But then once I realized that you can work through an injury, and that even if you do have like that kind of disc issue, you can still lift. Your body is and I learned then how adaptable your body is, and I still am now. My body's even adapting to stuff still, and it's crazy. So I'm very grateful for that time, like you said, with COVID. The silver lining there helped me a lot, and that was a great way for me to do that without having to also learn it through hardship and injury in the gym. So that was nice.
Yeah, because eventually you're gonna have to deload, and either it's gonna happen to some real world something like COVID, where it literally forced
Mhm.
everyone to deload, or you get smart and you realize that maybe I should take a break, or the worst, which is you just get injured and you're forced to just not train entirely, which no one wants.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of
Yeah.
PRs, like for you personally, what was the most meaningful PR for you? Like throughout all the PRs you've had, your squat, bench, deadlift, like which one was, or even maybe bodyweight goals, which one to you was the most meaningful personally?
So I'd say for PRs itself, I would say each one has different meanings. Um, I would say the first time I hit 500 pounds, that was very crazy to me because I at the time I wasn't when I hit 500 pounds for the first time. This is kind of a weird story. I had just got done with work and I hadn't eaten anything that day, but I chugged a protein drink I got from the market, and I had some pre-workout in my system, and I was working out, and I was getting ready to deadlift, and my buddy who doesn't work out with me anymore, sadly, but he and I used to be deadlift pals because we deadlifted about the same weight, so we could generally do things around the same. Um, and he was like, just try 500, just do it. And I was like, okay. I'd barely warmed up, and I got it with, I wouldn't say it was ease, but it wasn't a max. It was probably about, thinking about back to it now and seeing the footage, about a RP 8.5 to 9. Um, but that was crazy to me. That was like, holy crap, this is insane. And that I believe was when I first experienced, clearing of a mental blockage of like, this is a lot of weight. I'm scared to lift this. I would say my most meaningful PR to me has to be getting 3 plates on bench before I turned 18. Getting that about a month and a half before I turned 18, that was a big, big thing to me. I didn't pause it, and it wasn't a very clean rep, but to be able to do that and then a week later do it again, it was super nice. Um, Aside from that, I'd say, and two deadlift PRs that mean a lot to me was uh my first deadlift PR with being under Matt Vena. Um, he I got 605 pounds, and that was my PR up until last Wednesday. And that PR was very nice because I was training, I was deadlifting with some friends, and I warmed up for my top single, and warm-ups were going so fast, and I was very confident in myself. I was feeling good, and I hit 575, so 260 kilograms for an RP7 single, and that was the first time I deadlifted over 560. Well, the first time I deadlifted close to 585, in about 6 months, and I was very stoked for this. And I had gone through complete cue changes, complete form redone, different grip, everything. So it was a very nice like hook grip PR, overall just form PR, and I think at the time, not a bodyweight PR, but the 605 was a bodyweight PR, and just an overall PR. And I did that, and I was like, we're going up. I loaded up 605, and it was a very much like, this is a lot of weight. This is six plates, which was already a mental like struggle for me, and with with 10 slapped on each side.
I
So
remember this. I remember this. You were actually also asking the server like, "Do I go for this? Do I go for this?" And everyone was actually hyping you up for it too, because
it was,
yeah,
and I will say with if I can kind of get that, it definitely is very nice to have that other people I know that even if I don't see them daily, or if I don't talk to them a lot, or if you don't know them in person, having those people that have seen me from like day one, like Ahmad, Scott, you, seeing me go from there to here is a very, very nice way to see how far I've come. But anyways, I spent about 15 minutes blasting music in my headphones, just hyping myself up for this. And I remember when I got it, because it was also super late. It was about 7 at night in the gym, and no one was in there. So it was a perfect deadlift PR opportunity. And I remember pulling it, and it flew off the ground, and I locked it out very fast. And I was like, I could probably go up. But I got it. I held it for a second. I put it down, and then I felt my CNS just kind of light up a little bit. And I was like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna call it there." But that PR, getting something that my first time hitting 600, I hit over 600, and the first time pulling over 6 plates, those two was like, holy crap, this is, I love deadlifting. And it was like, it reaffirmed my love for lifting, and my love of just being able to move that much weight is just, it's something I didn't realize I needed in my life till I started doing it. And it's great.
yeah, that was so. I remember that day actually. It was actually a very big thing in the server, at least amongst the regulars, especially because like
Hmm.
yeah, we know you've been telling us as well, like before, like when you were chatting in the server and learning everything, like you had this big mental block for you like past 585 because the back thing you haven't hit that number in such a long time, and then just randomly one
Hmm.
day you come in saying, I think I can do this. Like, should I go for this? You just
Hmm.
hit it, and it was there. It was amazing. Like really big moments. Like honestly, I do wish like I had this sort of community back when I started, because stuff like this just there's nothing like it. Having like all these people, even if you don't know them, just watch you and actually be there just to see you grow this much, because it's something else. So going about your history thing and your love for lifting heavy weights, what would you say is like your biggest motivation? Like, why do you do this?
So, um, I mentioned this earlier a little bit. My reason I started was basic. Fat kid, wanted to get strong, wanted to stop being called fat, and I'd always grown up definitely bigger and more heavier set than everyone else around me. Well, I was still active, but I was just large, and I always grew up tall. Like I was always a head above everyone else. Always very much a corn-fed kid. Um, and it definitely got to its extreme between the ages of about 11 to like 14, 15. I'd say the heaviest I was before I actually bulked up to 300 pounds was like 2 or 3 pounds short of 300 pounds. And seeing that on the scale, motivated me to want to lose weight and start weightlifting, because I wanted to sculpt my body and be proud of the work I could put into my body. Seeing all these bodybuilders do it, and all the fitness influencers, David Lade especially, seeing a over 6 foot guy just be completely shredded but still look kind of big, that was inspiring to me, especially now seeing other athletes, like Chris Bumstead. But that was my initial motivation. Now I wouldn't say it's as much that. I'd say more recently it's changed into I would say like a kind of an elitist thing. I want to prove to myself that I can go as far as I want to if I choose. I want to be able to push myself to a point where I'm known and I can like say I have the national record for a deadlift, or I can go to say IPF Worlds. I'd love to be able to get to that point. Um, but like the day-to-day thing is just I've come so far. I've put so much time and effort into this, and I've had to make so many rough decisions, and I've seen so many people, and especially like my parents, give me the tools and ability to get here that I can't give up now. So it's just a daily thing of you've gotten this far. You have so many people who have put their hope into you to get here, and I don't know. I've become the lifting person, so I can't really stop now.
Yeah, just like your Instagram tag, David the Deadlifter, right? Can't be the David the Deadlifter if you don't deadlift.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of recognition, this is something that we've actually been hyping up about to talk about. Is your TikTok and your Instagram. Recently, we've learned that you've actually did gain some recognition amongst some very notable figures in the fitness industry here. So, can you like tell us more about that from start to end?
Yeah, so I randomly got I'm gonna pull up my phone because I want to see if I can get a little bit of a timeline on this from Instagram. But um I think about what 2, 3 months ago I got a random comment and a bunch of likes from a supplement company that I've personally used and I have merch from Animal Pack, or Animal. They commented something like great work on your stuff, you're putting in a lot of hard work, keep it up. And they liked about 8 of my posts, and that was the start of it. And I remember screenshotting that and be like, holy crap, I just got, liked from this company, that's insane. And then it followed up and continued to be, I can't get it, but I can find the screenshots. um it After that it went from that to, I believe I had Garrett Fear, um uh, uh, Garrett Fear, Bart Kwan, um, uh, oh, Deadlift Man, that tore his quad and pec a couple months ago. Who is he? Who am I thinking of? He liked one of my stuff recently.
Doctor Deadlift?
Huh?
Doctor Deadlift? Was
Dr.
it
Deadlift, yeah,
Taylor
Dr.
Woolen? Wasn't
Deadlift,
it?
Kayla Woolham,
Yeah.
Kayla Woolham, yeah, I had him follow me and like some of my stuff. Um, I had a big TikTok creator and Instagram influencer, Denzel. He followed me and
Oh
is still
yeah,
following me to this day, and I cherish that.
I remember that.
Um, I just had a bunch of other people just start randomly following me, and this was when I was under 100 followers, so it was very random and it was very out of the blue. And I remember constantly posting about it in the Discord because I was very much like, what is happening? I don't know what's going on, and I was almost nervous in a sense because it was just a lot of out of nowhere following, um, and recognition. So I continued with this, and I just kept posting my normal stuff, and I post 5 times a week, maybe six, depending if I like a single and I think it's a good reel, um, and it kept going, and I kept getting more followers. I kept getting followed by some people at Kabuki Strength that train there. I got followed by Kabuki Strength, and I got commented on by their stuff. And this was the craziest thing I think out of everything. I got a DM from Kabuki Strength, and they had mentioned that they had heard about me, and from someone they knew that's in Oregon, and they wanted to send me some shirts, and they sent me a um, Chris Duffin's bibliography, um, and that was like very very surprising to me, and I was like, this isn't real. They're just playing, whatever. And then I got the shipping info, and the shirts came, and I got 4 shirts from them, um, and some fun other stuff. I got, I think, a couple stickers, and that was like, holy crap! I got noticed by not one of the biggest like fitness things for sure, but definitely for powerlifting, one of the biggest like brands with their bars, their plates, their training methods. I also got offered for some strongman training up in Portland with them, so that was very like surprising to me, and it made me have a bit of a change of heart and be like, okay, this is I'm doing good. I'm doing something right, and I'm definitely getting somewhere in this space. No matter if it's good, any publicity is good publicity, and if I'm getting noticed, I'm doing something right. So that was very nice. But yeah, it just kind of came out of nowhere of people following me. I think who else did I have? I had some other vitamin and supplement companies comment random things. Um, I got follows from who else? I got Damien. Uh, he's a good big fitness influencer. I got some barbell brigade people that followed me and commented on my stuff. Um, and yeah, it was a very cool time when that happened, and it was interesting because I had that, and around the same time, I had a couple TikToks that blew up to well over 1,000 views, and got some good comments on that from people. And after that, it kind of died down. You know, I don't really. My Instagram is not posting to get people to follow me. It's just lifting. The only way I post, the only reason I post so much is so Matt can look at my lifts. At this point, it's just a log, and I'm okay with it. If I've got like 160 right now, if I get up to 200 or something, I'm okay with it. If I feel like I want to start going down the Instagram famous route, I can try it. But right now, I'm okay with where I'm at. But it was crazy, and it definitely changed. It had to keep make me keep my ego in check for sure, because I was like, oh, I'm the crap now. I'm that guy because I have all these people following me. But in the end, they're following and putting in their word because they want to see me improve, and because they're like, this guy, he's putting in this work, and I think at the time too, I was struggling a lot with mental health issues, and I think the reason why this started is my mother was talking to a friend of hers who knows some people that from Kabuki Strength in Portland, and I think they just kind of pulled some strings. But I'd say at the time, it definitely was a very big help, and it it was nice to kind of have that happen to me. And then I don't think I got a follow from Russell, but I did get a DM from him, and then also Noel, and those that kind of quick, 2-3 message interaction, um, it saves. I mean, even if you're just like Russell, he doesn't think he's popular in the fitness industry, but he's not like a super big person, but just people who like, I'd say people who are influencers and are nice enough to just give a couple message interaction with someone, it helps a lot, and it's a really good thing that they can do. And I think it's one of the best things about being an influencer is to being able to just like drop a follow by someone and have them freak out. And I think it's cool. But yeah, it was really really interesting, and it was crazy kind of seeing everyone freak out along with me because it was just random and it was nice. But
Yeah, that was definitely a really freak accident. Like, not you weren't the only one who didn't believe it. When you posted it in the Discord, we were like, hold, wait, this real? Double check the account, double check everything, and it turned out that
yeah,
okay, this was actually all real. And then the Kabuki thing as well, and the Russell thing, it was definitely something else, especially with how random it is. Because I don't.
yeah, yeah. It kind of like it literally came out of nowhere, and um, but it was definitely very nice, and I still haven't gotten them yet, but I also got contacted. I forgot to mention this by Barefoot, which is co-owned by Chris Duffin too. Um, and they actually sent me out, or I have the order number. I haven't gotten them shipped yet, but I got sent Barefoot shoes, so I'm waiting for that to still get shipped out. But that's exciting. I one of the other frequenters in the Discord, Hunter, he uses them, so and I've heard great things, so I'm excited.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't say like congrats you made it, but you're definitely on the way there to making it with this. Because now you
For
got these
sure.
eyes on you, even if they're not always commenting or anything. You know that people do have eyes on you now, pop like officially.
Mhm.
And honestly, they have something new to look forward to now with this podcast. Once this episode is up, they'll definitely be surprised to see this coming up and get to know you even more.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm excited to kind of have this go out. I was like a little skeptical at first to come on this, but I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a fun time, and I'm excited to watch it back. And I still have to watch Ices, so I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, especially since, well, I mean, this is new stuff for us in the Discord as well, but I think it's great to see that this community has actually helped foster a lot of really well gifted talents like you and Ice and a bunch of others later on that will come on
For
in next
sure.
episodes. And if anything, it can actually prep you guys for things that you might have to do later on if you do decide to pursue, for example, you pursue powerlifting, setting records. You might have to
Mhm.
do stuff like this more often.
Yeah, exactly. So this community, this community's great. I love it. It's definitely one of the few things that has kept me lifting because I enjoy it for sure, but there are days where it's just like I don't want to keep doing this. And it's I had a recent interaction with some people and I, told them that I lift and it's funny because when you're surrounded by all like and I just kind of want to say this because I want people to realize when you are surrounded by this fitness industry and you are seeing all the time power lifters, dead squat, deadlift, and bench, 500, 600 pounds with ease. And you're seeing all these people that are taking steroids and their crazy physiques. And you're seeing all these Instagram and social media, like, uh, oh, what's the word? Inflated things. And you're like, dang, I wish I could do that. Or you need to realize that like, they're only there because they've spent so much time doing that, and that even if you're only deadlifting 300 or 400 pounds, the basic, you know, people can't do that like at all. So just you being in the gym and you just starting somewhere and putting your time and effort and dedication into the gym and bettering yourself is doing so much more than the general population. Because
Yeah,
people just don't understand like that if you can just do the basic same thing over and over and over, you can kind of get somewhere, just become better. So
yeah, for real. Like you said, like when you just introduce lifting to like a newbie or someone who's completely outside, to them there's no difference between a 300 pound deadlift to a 700 pound deadlift. To them, they're both
mhm,
heavy, and they don't even know what a
mhm.
deadlift is. Like we, so
Yeah,
yeah, bringing up something that we've been teasing for a bit since you have mentioned it several times, but we haven't gotten into it yet, is Matt Vena. So tell us all about it. Like, how did you get Matt Vena to coach you? How's it like being coached under Matt Vena? How is he like in person as a coach, or as a coach, and how he is like compared to his maybe his YouTube or anything? Because honestly, as someone who has been in this for a bit of while, every time I think of Matt Vena, I still think about that 17-year-old kid mugging everyone squatting 700 pounds in the commercial gym. But now seeing him like a lot more mature with the facial hair and anything, like, this isn't Matt Vena.
no, yeah, I so yeah, I when I so I got I got coached by Matt Vena. I'm still getting coached by Matt Vena. I hit him up because I was just kind of looking for a coach. This was fall of 2021. And I'm like, I want to get coached. I want to spend the money on this, and I want to see what there is around. I looked at people like Garrett Fear. I looked. I think I looked at Russell, and I looked at one other dude, and I can't remember his name. And I just kind of looked at some things. I'm like looking at prices, like this is kind of expensive. I didn't really want to try and spend too much money. And then I saw Matt. So Matt is a very precise and smart lifter. I would say he is very much about being optimal in the gym and trying to be as optimal as you can outside of the gym. And I like that. Like that to me was very appealing. And seeing he loves to cite studies. He loves to try new cues, and is just very understanding. I'd say with biomechanics in implementing of cues and stuff, especially
Like
now
very
that I've known
methodical with
him.
his approach.
Yes, very methodical. So I hit him up, and I'm not going to disclose pricing because that's something he can do himself. Because I don't know if my rate's different than anyone else's. But I started out with the 1 month to kind of see how it would go, and the 1 month was a little pricey for me. But he had mentioned a lengthier payment that was just pure programming, and he would still do the form checks and basically everything else. So like, okay, yeah. So we did that 1 month, and I was started really light, and I got the like 4 or 5 month payment thing, whatever, and I paid for that, and we started building, and it started out very light for me. It started out like RP 4 or 5 work, just kind of seeing he was seeing how my movements were, how things were efficient, and at the time I was hook grip deadlifting, and I had widened my conventional stance to try and use more leg power and not so much of my back. My bench was pretty comfortable with it, but it wasn't the greatest. And my squat was, I think, just above 4 plates. But my squat, I was having a lot of inconsistencies with. So we start working, and he's giving me a lot of different cues to try, and it's pretty great. And we start building, and things start getting a little heavier, and it keeps going. And I kind of realized that he is just a very normal guy, and he's very, like you said, methodical. He's very good to work with. He will kind of give you how it is, and when I would kind of undershoot things, he was very okay if things were undershot and a little overshot. But he definitely preferred if my singles were undershot, and he would be super good in understanding with cues. If I didn't really understand a cue, I could just text him on Instagram, and he would try. I mean, most of the times I was able to catch him while I was still in the session, so I could change up the cue a tiny bit before actually posting it out and finishing it, like the session. Uh, but yeah, and just talking to him, he's super nice and just very dedicated and focused on his schooling and like his powerlifting, really. And it's just very nice to have just like someone give you what you're doing week to week. And now he's been coaching me for about 6 months now, and I have made 30-pound increase on my deadlift, a 20-pound increase on my squat, and a 20-pound increase on my bench, all at the same time. Like that to me, where before I was barely increasing my squat and deadlift together. So increasing my total by what 80 pounds, that to me is super great and definitely worth my investment. And that's another thing, is if you want to go into lifting, I wouldn't say getting a coach is imperative, but if you'd like to optimize things, and if you have, especially if you like, for me, I had the spare cash because I'm a part-time job and I'm still in high school, so I was able to definitely afford it, and I 100% love it. Like he has changed my perception with lifting, realizing that being a smart lifter and dragging your progression out and just putting in the work, and just even if it's just boring, mundane, doing the same thing over and over again, can get you results and can get you progress and getting, stronger, looking better. And it I also will say we've been doing linear progression the whole time, and seeing myself still be able to keep up with linear progression shows me that, like, people who are like, oh, I can't linear progress, or oh, I can't do this and that, it's just you're not waiting long enough. You're people who are not giving themselves enough time, I'd say, to progress, are the people that need to be like, well, I want to be doing this for the rest of my life. So even if I don't progress in 2 months, they don't need to make it be the end of the world and stop lifting because of that. Because it just this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I'd say that's the best way of describing it. But as being coached by Matt Vena, I definitely enjoy it. I know we have another user in the Discord user in the Discord, and he loves Matt Vena too. I'd say for my first time being coached by someone, very positive first experience. And he's super great with like billing and stuff, and then with with programming, it's pretty basic and straightforward. I mean, it's nothing too crazy. I'm doing on my deadlift days, I have like one other thing I'm doing, and most of my sessions are pretty compound oriented, um, with just like squats, and then I'll have like one or two accessories afterward. Same with bench. I'd say the day I have the most accessories would be on my secondary bench day, and that's where I have about three three different groups of sets of accessories, and it ends up being about 9 to 10 total sets of accessories that day. And all the other days are like um, anywhere between 5 to maybe 12. Sometimes they're 12, and those are the days where I'm like in there for maybe an hour and a half too. But generally, most of my sessions are about an hour and a half, which is nice. And it's like I'd say as someone who, especially like we talked about, was very unoptimized in the gym, having this to where I don't have to worry about it so much, but I can still absorb it and learn through seeing how he's doing it, has been a great help.
Yeah, that's why we always recommend like for beginners to just flat out learn programs. I know like this I've seen that some people have different opinions on this and it is valid, but from our perspective, it's just like you said, like instead of trying to think up things on your own when you clearly do not have the knowledge to do all of that on your own, otherwise you wouldn't even need our help in the first place or any community to help you out with that. But when you do something that's already really properly planned out, you learn it, then you figure out, okay, why does this work? Why doesn't this work? And you learn along the way, which is really great because like you said yourself, you're learning bit by bit on how Matt, for example, prefers to program for you, and then you can figure out things that maybe I can actually program for myself a bit here and there and adjust it here and there with his input, of course. But speaking of being coached under Matt as well, what do you think are the things that you've learned the most out of being under Matt Vena? Like maybe technique wise or RPE wise, intensity, volume?
I'd say, yeah, for sure. So I'd say out of learning everything, I'd say I've learned that squat, there is so many different ways to perform a squat. Um, I we've run through, I'd say in total with all three lifts, I'd say we've run through probably about 12 to 15 cues. Different ones, trying things, and if things don't stick or don't really work that well,
Just for
we
squat?
scrap them and try something new. Not just for squat,
Oh,
for squat, bench, and
okay,
deadlift. For
okay.
squat though, I'd say it's definitely at about 7 right now. We've done a lot of tweaking with squat and are still doing a lot of tweaking. But I'd say the nice thing from him is if things are looking good, like with technique and cues, he will tell you, and he'll be like, things are looking really good, keep it up. And I'd say I learned that um, implementing cues, you can't do it in just a week. It takes about we do our cue implementing in about 3 to 4 weeks time, and sometimes that's not even enough. It takes a while, and I've learned this for myself, a while for me to be able to get something where it's second nature, and it that's like 2 times a week and thinking about it the whole time during a squat, and finally being able to like, all right, I can just um like for instance, I can just tuck my ribs for immediately with squat all the time. I tuck my ribs before I squat every time now. For deadlift, I'm always engaging to pull slack. I'm always raising my hips and pulling my hips back down and slightly leaning back with my hamstrings and glutes activated to pull the slack and yank it from the bar from the ground. Those are the biggest things I'd say is just like learning how long it takes cues to be implemented. That because I always like before I'd always look up videos on how to deadlift better or how to bench better, or how to brace. And it'd be like, all right, I'll think about this for a couple sessions. And I'm like, all right, yeah, it's implemented. But then I'd realize I'd be struggling with that same thing later on. So yeah, I'd say just learning patience is the biggest thing. And then for the biggest change, I'd say is probably squat. Because I used to squat very
Good morning. Yeah, we remember that.
good morning, yeah, and it's because it's I still do squat like a good morning, but it's much more controlled and it's much more I've learned to just keep it like that. We've gone through multiple different foot positions, seeing what works best for my hips, working through a lot of ankle mobility issues, and also improving just my general mobility and stretching routines in general. Um, and then also, I learned that your squat is very much dependent on your midsection position. So if my midsection is not set up properly before I go down for a squat, and I'm trying to hit a PR, or I'm trying to hit a single, and it's not set up properly, that single will be terrible,
Right,
or
it's
I will
gonna
not get
out.
that PR.
Yeah.
Because it the chest up cue, it matters. I will say that if your chest is caving, a slight bit is not terrible, but if it's caving and you notice that is your big issue, you need to work on your midsection positioning and your midsection strength, because that is just a key part in why squat is such a hard lift. So I would say I learned that a lot. I learned that squat is terrible.
Yeah, same for me as well. Actually, I learned this. I mean, think about it now, it's pretty common sense, but I learned this recently that aside from your tip with like how important your midsection is, but also because, in addition to that tip, is that the way you go down is going to determine how you load up your squat. Like if you load up like very upright, you're going to be loading your quads. And if you're planning to like use your squat to really build up your quads, that is very important. Otherwise, if you bend a bit and you're loading more of your hamstrings and your posterior chain, again, that's going to build up your posterior chain and everything else. But then you know how some people when they go down the squat and then they have a slight shift, that can completely screw up the loading as well. Because if you go down in a
Mm-hmm.
squat in a way where you load your posterior chain, but then you adjust so that you'll be using your quads, well, it's going to be down because all that loading, that tension loading, is already gone. Same thing with quads. If you
Mm-hmm.
load up your quads and then you suddenly adjust into a good morning, you're going to be in a terrible spot because your posterior chain wasn't loaded on the descent in the first place. It's going to be really
Oh,
hard.
exactly. Yeah, and that's yeah. With I'd learned with coming down with squat, and I think it's still how I squat the best is I need to come down a bit more with a bent over position, because I already when I'm coming up I'm already good morning, and like you said I struggled a lot with good morning for my squats, and still do when I'm fatigued. That's because my posterior chain is the strongest group of muscles I'd say in my body. Because I deadlift so much, I got so proficient at deadlift, and that's just what I've always been good at. So when me and Matt were tweaking around with cues and we tried to kind of have a bit more upright loading my quads, it worked for some time, but I kept always shifting into using my posterior chain.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
now starting with my posterior chain, it's much more controlled and a much more efficient squat. And now it's just working on getting that power and speed like I had when I was more loading my quads. Except this time I'm just not shifting in the center, because like you were saying, it was causing me some slight lower back pain and it was causing me some slight knee issues. And now I'd say I'm more, especially with being able to deload recently, I'm able to handle much more squat load. And like with the linear progression, I pushed myself almost to squatting 4 plates for, my heavier day of squats for a 4x4. I was close to that. I was about um, like 6 or 8 weeks from doing that if I kept progressing. And we started from like 345. So that's about 60 pounds over the course of 5 months that I've increased and kept going up on my working sets. So yeah, I'd say
That's
I'd say
crazy.
squat is the biggest thing that's changed for me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's crazy, and that's like 60 pounds to your total too. It's just from
Yeah,
learning how to squat
yeah,
better.
yeah. It's crazy. I as someone, and I'm sure I said this or at least mentioned it with his coaching. As someone who is enjoying powerlifting and wants to take it seriously and is trying to take it seriously, getting a coach is a very, very good move. Especially if, like for me, if you can find something that's relatively cheap for what you're making or what you can potentially make if you get a job, it's a very um, big thing to try and do. So I enjoyed it.
Oh,
It was
speaking of
good.
that, like, is Matt gonna see you there on your meet day? Like, is he gonna be down there?
I mean, so I don't think he will be just because he does live in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and it's my first meet. I will definitely shoot him the live link when it happens because I'd like to see him and kind of talk with him if he's able. Because I've told him the date and he's very much like excited of getting into a meet. I'd say I will if I can get into nationals, possibly with US. I'm competing in the USPA, not USAPL, because my state doesn't have a chairman for the USAPL, so sadly I don't get to. Uh, but if I get to go to possibly nationals for the USPA, if not this year, because I'm pretty sure they're already happening, but if next year, I'd definitely like to see if he could come down. Um, just because it'd be super sick to get his support and just kind of meet, maybe train with him in person a little bit, because he seems like a super chill dude. And I mean, it feels like we get along. He's pretty great, so I'm happy with it. But I don't know. If not, it is what it is. But if and that's the thing too is like with training and getting a coach that's not in person, there is that like lack of a personal connection and being able to like be there physically and be like, all right, you need to do this more and kind of uh, you don't have that actual face-to-face interaction and that ability to, in the middle of a session, really change something drastically. But I'd say if you're able, like for me, I'm recording all my sets and getting most of the information he needs to him. It works out pretty well, and it's just working with your coach.
Yeah, that's pretty important tip. And oh yeah, this is just gonna be a shout out to all the viewers who will come watching this, hopefully, especially the beginners, is that look, even someone as gifted as David can still make linear progressions. He just needed to learn a bit of patience. And honestly, to a lot of you guys out there who are probably gonna watch this, please learn some patience. Like we always get people coming and like saying, "Oh, I can't add like 5 pounds or whatever the next week," or like
Mhm.
struggling, and maybe technique wise they just learn a bit one or two, and then they say, "Oh, I can't seem to like get my squat down, my hips keep shooting up or whatever." Like lifting is a lifetime thing, guys. Like you're not gonna be doing this for like a year for the summer or whatever. You're gonna be doing this pretty much for life. Hopefully for life. It is a very great thing to keep up, so take your time to learn stuff. Take your time to progress. It's not gonna happen overnight. We all wish it could, obviously, but just be patient and
Definitely.
enjoy the journey. It is like David said earlier. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, I mean it like taking time and it like you were saying if I can't add 5 pounds to my bench sets this week or I can't do this or that, give yourself another week or see maybe your technique was wrong that week, you know. I definitely recommend for new people to record their sets even if it's not all of them but maybe the first two or the last two just kind of to see where you're at. um, and yeah, just patience is the biggest thing in lifting that people neglect and don't really talk about is it takes time. It takes so much time to be able to get where a lot of like fitness influencers and even like the ones that don't seem like they're that strong compared to other people, it still takes very long to get where they're at. Like say for instance Jeff Nippard, granted, he does more bodybuilding stuff, but he's been lifting for close to a decade, and he's squatting about what I'm squatting after I've lifted for 3 years. So it's different people progress differently, and it just you need to be patient with yourself and realize that you are going to be able to get to where you want to be as long as you give yourself the time to get there.
Yeah, and yeah, something else. Don't compare yourself to others, because you said if you were to compare yourself to Jeff Nippert, maybe like you think, oh man, I'm the shit. Like Jeff Nippert took like 10 years to get it, and I'm already beating him after 2 years. But then you look at someone else who's far above you, and like for example, like everyone knows Benjamin, that freakish 16-year-old, and it's like he's only like about 2 3 years younger than you, and his numbers are already huge. So to get a good perspective of where you are, ideally don't look at anyone else. Just appreciate. You can always use others for motivation or whatever. Appreciate what they've worked towards, but also keep in mind that there's also people who probably are looking towards you as inspiration. I'm pretty sure there's a ton of people in the server who look at you and say like they want to be you. They want to be that kid that's lifting 600 pounds, benching three. You're an inspiration yourself now.
I mean, I'd say definitely, yeah. There's a couple people in the server that I've talked to that they've told me themselves that I inspire them to do, to go lift and to try to get stronger, and I appreciate it. I like it. Lifting, I want, and I feel like it should be bringing people up around you while also being able to say, like, a little bit of like, I've gotten here by myself and I'm proud of what I've done, and like, look at me, but also be like, just because I did this in this amount of time, you doesn't mean you need to do that in that amount of time. You need to take as much time as you need to, but you need to also realize that you are working against yourself. And the biggest thing for me is, and especially now being at 3 years deep into lifting and seeing, in my Snapchat memories and in my iPhone memories, that 3 years ago I was just starting to get in the gym, and those first few gym photos, and even like a year or two ago, those random bench PRs, and seeing my form change and my mentality change, and those few deadlift PRs where I'm yelling and screaming, and then seeing the one that I just hit a couple days ago, that where I'm completely calm and it was just a normal max, or it was a normal like single. Those, seeing the progression and seeing yourself change and get better with time, I think is the most rewarding thing out of all of it. And that's where I'm happy that I'm an inspiration, but I also don't. And like you said, you should not compare yourself to other people, because no one is the same, and it's just, it's negative, and it can bring you down. Even if you don't think it is, it still can in some ways, and you can only handle so much negativity with yourself, and especially with the world around us right now. So
Yeah, definitely. Now, before we actually move on to some future prospects, so far we've pretty much talked a lot about your successes. So I think we should touch a bit about some of your failures or hardships that you faced along the way. Maybe talk a bit about your emotions during then, your mental state during then, and how you overcame them, and how you would approach them now. Say if it happens to you again, but you're in a more mature state, and how would you approach those inconveniences or shortcomings now compared to then?
yeah, I mean, I'd say the first real inconvenience I had, and that kind of brought me down, was when I hurt my back for the first time deadlifting. That was in the winter, like December of 2019, like I mentioned earlier. That sucked. It was like a slight strain, and I really couldn't bend over much, but I still tried to come into the gym. And I'd say I handled it okay at the time, but I could have handled it a lot better. I think I was in a slight calorie deficit at the time. What I could have done is switched up to a maintenance. Even a slight surplus wouldn't have hurt me too much. Just to be able to give my body the nutrients to recover and kind of prioritize getting my back healed. Along with that, I uh, I definitely could have taken a couple more days off work than I did right after. Granted, my work wasn't super physical, so it wasn't that much of an issue. But I definitely feel like a couple days wouldn't have been terrible. And also the mentality portion of it. Beat myself up so much for hurting myself, and thinking, I thought about all of the progress I was losing because I hurt myself, and I really needed to more think of okay, I now know that I need to work on my deadlift form, so I can look. What I should have done is looked at previous things, saw where I saw weak points and things I could have improved. And when I had the opportunity and when I was well enough to start working on those, that's what I should have started doing instead of trying to just go straight back into deadlifting once I felt good enough, um, and really drilling those weak points. I'd say that was like the first hardship, and now that's how I would handle it better is just drilling my weak points, prioritizing my recovery, eating more, um, and just not getting myself so butthurt over a generally small, injury. And I'd say after that, which was really close, was COVID. I handled that pretty bad. My mental health took a decline because I like I'd mentioned, the gym was my outlet, and it was kind of the one thing I was doing that was keeping me okay, keeping me happy, and I could let out all the frustrations I had from that. Um, that's Not being able to do that really sucked, and I was super just sad all the time, and I kept in my room. How I would have handled that a lot more now is just try to stay as active as I could. I would have gone on more walks and been outside more, especially because it was around springtime, so it was warming up. Um, Not be as cooped up in my dark room. Just getting away from that negativity, and still like I did handle it then. Giving myself time to learn about nutrition and looking more into fitness influencers and learning more from people around them and um, learning from people in the Discord. I feel like I handled that portion pretty well, but I would definitely would have stayed more active and really worked on just uh, body weight. I'd say body weight movement and just being able to be more comfortable with myself doing push-ups, try to work on my pull-up more and like running and things like that instead of just being cooped up in my room playing video games all the time. And allowing myself to get depressed and thinking that I would go back to this the fat gamer kid that just played video games all the time.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing
And
that.
then
Oh, sorry. You can keep going.
go for it.
No, I
Go
was just
for
gonna
it.
say that fat gamer kid, if he could see you now, he'd be blown away, man.
Definitely. I'd say the person I was when I was in ending middle school, would very much be proud of who I am now. And I'd say with recently handling some mental hardship and just depression. My dad's 10th year death anniversary and 10 years since he's been gone is this month. So just handling a lot of that. Um, that's been rough. But I think if I was to be handling it as the person I was 2 or 3 years ago without going through and learning the discipline and having my structure now of going to the gym and going to work, because the gym and work now are two very core parts in my daily routine that without them there I would be very lost. So I'd say as a person, getting those routines, especially for me, helped a lot to improve my mental health. And when I now do have those spouts of depression, I'm I'm still sad and I'm still struggling with that, but I'm able to work through it and still focus myself on the important things and what I want to and need to be doing. And that is something I wouldn't be able to do, 2 years ago. I'd want to sit at my computer crying, playing video games, playing Minecraft till 12 in the morning, eating, chips and donuts and all this other stuff. But now I'm rather go to the gym, lift heavy circles, and just go to work. It's crazy how 2 years has just completely given myself a 180 and a different perspective.
Yeah, honestly, it's amazing. Like seeing you, Ice, and a bunch of others just really grow up compared to like when you first started appearing in the community and everything. and it's actually seeing you guys, kids, actual kids, young adults, teenagers,
Mhm.
grow up, mature like this. It's great, man. It's honestly great to see you guys just go out like this and mature and actually be the person you could have, yeah, you could be, like aspiring to
Mhm.
be the better person that you can be.
Yeah, and that's something that like it keeps me going, and is just like being knowing I can be better and knowing that there's still someone that I need to become, and just trying to become and better myself every day. And that's it's not great, and I definitely still need to work through a lot of my mental health issues and just depression. And I don't think that how I'm doing it is the best way, and I don't recommend it. I recommend talking about your feelings, and I recommend, if you can, seeking help. Um, but I don't think I'm doing too bad of a job right now. I am still here, and I'm still trying to get better. So I think things are going pretty well so far.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
So while we're still going on, let's talk about the future a bit. Do you say so right now the closest thing to your future would be the powerlifting meet. Then
Mhm.
afterwards, maybe you might get the nationals, you might set records, and so on and so forth. But what about things outside powerlifting? Like you said earlier that you had some inspiration from bodybuilders and how like being 6 foot plus and still being jacked and lean inspired you. Like, do you ever have any aspirations to transition to bodybuilding, or do you still want to keep going to powerlifting and then strongman?
So I definitely wouldn't say bodybuilding is out of the question. I'd say I wouldn't be doing it anytime soon, because I don't really want to, while I'm still young, I still want to maximize the amount of muscle I can put on, um, and not really worry about getting too lean. Right now I'm in a slight deficit of about 200 to 300 calories, so it's nothing crazy. Um, but I'd say right now I'm definitely not disciplined enough to do a bodybuilding show. Um, but I would like to improve my physique so I could do a bodybuilding show at some point. My main goal right now after the meet is to just in the off season, and if I qualify for nationals, um, is to just put in work and get stronger for nationals. Um, and yeah, I'd say future definitely in my early 20s. I'd like to look at some strongman things. We have a Highland Games here, which is similar to strongman in some events. So I'm definitely interested in trying that out this summer, depending on when the competition falls in. Um, but yeah, the future definitely is looking towards strongman for sure. With being in the 275 or 125 kg class, I have a lot of room, I think, to still grow and get bigger while getting leaner at the same time. Um, I'm currently sitting at about uh like 128, 129, so I'm a little over right now. Um, but I've seen myself get bigger and stay about the same leanness at the weight I am right now, to where I was about 15 to 20 pounds like 2 years ago. So I am very happy with that, and I can see myself getting into about 265 to 270 pounds, decently lean within the next with before I'm 22. Um, and then with strongman, I don't really know what I would want to do. If I decide to completely change pace and try strongman, I'd probably do it for at least a minimum of 2 years. And it would I think I would do it not by weight, not by staying in my 275 weight class, but by going up into the super heavyweight and just going complete, I wouldn't say complete bloat lord, but definitely going on a slow bulk for 2 years and just seeing how far I could go. Because even if I'm not gonna get any super crazy stuff with strongman, it would still be a really good thing for my deadlift and my squat, which are two things that make up a majority of a powerlifting total. Um, and bench can be just attributed by overhead pressing work, and my overhead press has always been weak. So I think it would be super good to try out in my early 20s. And I don't have it off the table. Same with bodybuilding, but bodybuilding is definitely more of like a I'm bored, I'll try it out. Strongman and powerlifting are the two main roads I see myself going in right now.
So actually,
And yeah,
oh, yeah.
I'm just excited.
Oh, definitely. When we're all definitely excited to see how far you can go, man. So actually, I didn't realize I didn't ask you this earlier. Do you have any, say, rivals that you personally consider? Like, I know that not like rivals, but say, in the competition in the meet that you're about to head into, do you know anyone there who you consider a rival? Like anyone in your weight class or whatever?
See, I'd say not really right now. My when I first was looking to compete, I didn't want to compete in the 275, and I wanted to compete in the 242, so 110 kilograms, um, because it was more competitive. I don't see a lot of 275 pound competitors in Oregon right now. There's a handful. I don't know of anyone who's actually in this meet that's in my weight class. I don't know if there is any that is going to be, a junior. Um, and as far as like rivals, I'd say the guy who currently holds the records for the weight class, I'd put him as a rival because he got those um, I think early or late last year, and he is a squat monster. His squat is a little less than my deadlift right now, but he's deadlifting close to 100 pounds less than I am. So he's definitely someone who's very proficient at his squat, which is interesting to see because when I compete, I'm much more deadlift oriented. So it'll be very interesting to see how we line up in terms of totals and trying to compete against each other. And as people, I would say as rivals, I have, like I'd mentioned before, a deadlifting buddy who and I we used to deadlift a lot, a year and a half ago. Um, he was really the only person that I like to try and compete with my deadlift because we were about the same size and deadlifted about the same. He was, I think, a couple inches shorter than me and about 20 to 30 pounds lighter. So he was a very great, person to work out with and push myself with. But right now, I wouldn't say I have any rivals. I'd say I have people I'd like to try and surpass and just kind of get on the same level as, but it just is going to take like a good while to get up to where I want to be. So,
Oh yeah, that's understandable. It is kind of odd, especially when certain, like you said, like your weight class maybe not might even be people there when you're going there. So,
mhm,
but it would be interesting to say, like, if you had some more people in your weight classes as juniors or similar close, where you can like, you know what, this guy's good. I want to like, try and beat him,
mhm,
show him off. But luckily, at least we do have some in the server like Hunter who's pulling close to your deadlift, but sumo style.
mhm.
But still, that's still, even though you guys are completely different weight classes, that's still like people who are pulling close to your numbers. You definitely want to like keep an eye on them
Oh, for
in a
sure,
certain way.
for sure. Yeah. I'd say with the server, it's definitely been nice to be like, all right, who's kind of I can scope out the competition, kind of see what people are deadlifting, and I think aside from Thick, who's been inactive for a while, Hunter's one of the only real like super active people that's close to my deadlift. And he's always fun to talk to. He's super chill,
Oh
and
yeah.
I like seeing, yeah, like you said, the nice competition and just kind of keeping an eye on people who are, lifts are around the same. Because I don't even think of it, because some people are like, oh, I want to beat them. I need to beat them. I need to be stronger than them. It's just I personally find it more of just a friendly competition kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, it's whoever can put in the most work, whoever is trying their hardest to optimize their training, and it also comes down a lot to just genetics and just how things are going outside of the gym too. Your stress levels, what your eating is like, if you're trying to lose weight or gain weight or stay the same, if you're prepping for a meet, that kind of stuff. So I don't take it as seriously as some other people do, and I don't think it should be taken that seriously
No,
personally,
definitely.
but I do enjoy friendly competition, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, and Scott's definitely been keeping an eye on your squat for quite some time now.
Oh yes, I need to start putting my work in with squat. Gotta get back up to Scott. So
So let's see. We talked about Matt Vena. We've talked about your journeys and what. Do you maybe have any advice for, let's say, I know. Let's think about like this. If you could give like any advice to your younger self, just think about this as giving advice to the viewers later on, but in
Mhm.
the scope of this is what I would have told my younger self, or yeah, this is what I would have told my younger self had I the chance to meet him and tell him like,
Mhm.
forget about this, focus on this, whatever, anything.
I would say for myself when I started, I would say stop trying to lose weight and either A, try to gain weight or try to recomp. And we say it a lot to people who are in the server who are especially young kids. And like me, when I started, I was 15 and I was definitely overweight. I had a very high BMI and I had some muscle mass, but not a very definite amount. And what I wanted to do was lose weight, but losing weight, I never really was able to gain a decent amount of muscle mass until I started actually checking my calories and kind of eating at a maintenance. So I'd say the biggest tip and the biggest piece of advice I would say is as long as you are making sure your training is good and you are pushing yourself adequately, not going to failure all the time, but getting a good stimulus, being on a program that's working on progression, and you are making sure you are focusing on, all the other things in life and just lifting is on the side and you're just doing it, properly, as long as you are eating enough and you're eating enough, making sure your macros are generally decent, they don't have to be the same every day, but as long as you're getting close to an adequate amount of protein, um, and you, especially if you are overweight and obese and you find yourself as fat, I know it's going to be tough, but work on this. Don't worry about the scale. Work on the weight and work on getting stronger. Getting stronger and eating enough doesn't have to be a bulk. I'm not saying to try and gain weight, but I'm saying if you recomp and you work on getting stronger, you will see a lot of difference in a year and a half to 2 years versus if you tried to cut for those 2 years. Even if you took it slow, I'd say recomping and trying to just gain weight so you can get that muscle before you cut down or before you even want to try and recomp to get lean, it'll be much more beneficial and you will appreciate the size you put on versus you, especially for me when I started to lose weight and I got to 245, 250, I was very skinny and I didn't like being skinny. I was very much like, I miss being big, I miss being looking strong. And now with being 280, I definitely am chunkier, but I'm also a lot bigger and I feel like I look a lot more like I lift and I feel like I have the ability to like, all right, if I want to look a little lighter, I can cut down a tiny bit and be okay. But I also have the chance to just, do what I'm doing right now, basically recomping for the next 6 months to a year, and next year hopefully look a lot better than I do now and be a lot stronger than I am now. So I'd say yeah, just work on nutrition and don't try and cut if you're fat.
Yeah, that's definitely a trap that a lot of beginners fall into. But then, yeah, waiting for you to look like you in a year, that's going to be insane. 6'5", and
Mhm.
you'll actually look jack and pull over 600 and squat 200 plus. That is going to be something to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm excited for it. So we're gonna just put the work in and see what happens.
Oh, definitely. Now, with everyone so far, again, we've talked about lifting and everything, but the thing about that people need to realize is that you're more than the ways that you live. So for this part of the podcast, I just want to touch a bit on you outside of lifting, like hobbies outside of lifting. Because in the previous episode, we mentioned how Ice likes cooking, likes bike riding, hiking. As he's been really getting into hiking recently. So what about you? Anything you have outside of lifting? What's we know David the deadlifter, but what about just David?
So, yeah, I'd say with lifting and having to cook a lot for myself, cooking has become something I'm very interested in, and I enjoy it a lot. Um, if even if it's just being able to whip up random stuff, I enjoy experimenting with different flavors and learning new recipes so I can try different stuff. Cooking has been a super um, nice thing for me to learn because now I didn't really know how to cook that well before, and just kind of throwing myself into cooking with lifting and trying to meal prep, that really helped. So I'd say I enjoy cooking, definitely. With my parents want meals and they don't want to have to cook, I try to cook for them with dinners. Sometimes they don't like it because it's too much protein or it's too much food, but I end up just eating it anyways. Um, Aside from that, I definitely do enjoy playing video games. I'm still that I'm still that gamer kid. When I have time outside of school and work, I like to come home and hop on Valorant, play a couple games with friends. I bought Oculus about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I've been playing the crap out of that. It's been after the gym. It's been kind of like my little bit of cardio. But honestly, like it's kind of weird to say. My hobbies have diminished with lifting because I take it so seriously, which I don't think is necessarily a good thing. Um, I do wish I kept some other hobbies. I tried to learn some more, hobbies when I was younger. But I'd say recently, with getting my first car and having my license and learning more about engines and learning more about cars, um, that is starting to become my hobby once again, like it was when I was a little kid. Um, and I hopefully, um, if I can get a second job here shortly, I might be trying to potentially sell my current car and try to get something a little nicer, or maybe see if I can get a project car or something. I'm not too sure. I need to see and think about it a little bit more, but we'll see what happens. I mean, the used car market where I'm at right now in Oregon is kind of crazy, and my car has gone up like $2,000 in value. So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I hate to say it, but lifting is like absorbed my life. So if I stopped lifting, it would be very much back to just playing video games and doing nothing else really. Um, I'd say with school, I'm not too keen on going to college. What I want to do is go to trade school. Um, I'm looking to become an electrician or do some other trade, possibly maybe carpenter or construction for first job kind of thing, full time job, anyways.
Strongman
Um,
kind of job.
yeah, but I just say priorities are very much work and working out and just trying to keep myself busy so I'm not worrying about things I shouldn't be. So
But then with getting to cars, we might be looking forward to David the Drifter sometime in the future.
maybe I'd have to get rid of the front wheel drive camera I have, but there are some super fun guys that I used to hang out with in the gym that know me that are getting into cars, and I'm kind of talking to them a little bit. And there's some car meets that happen pretty frequently around town. So I'm looking around. I'm looking to see what there is. Um, I definitely will say I enjoy car speakers and nice car audio. So we will see what happens. I'm kind of excited to see what the future holds.
Yeah, man, it's really nice to hear like lifters actually have hobbies outside of lifting because some people honestly it's I say it honestly it's a bit kind of sad when they've made lifting their entire personality and they have nothing outside of it because
Oh yeah, definitely.
it feels
It's
wrong.
it's yeah, and it's because it's like I feel like it gets burnt out,
Yeah.
especially. And for me, I've been close to that where it's like lifting is the only thing I'm doing. This is kind of boring, and I want to stop. But also, like with me, when I changed my mentality of having it just feel like it's a job at this point, it doesn't. It feels like a hobby still, and it is still very enjoyable to me. But it allows me to when I'm in the gym, it is gym, and I am focused on that. When I'm outside of it, I'm not just thinking about it all the time, but it's still there is still thought about it when I'm seeing what I need to eat for the day, trying to eat out a little bit, see what happens. Um, but yeah, I think having your whole personality revolve around the gym and revolve around trying to better yourself is a little too obsessive and unhealthy, because then you are missing out on a lot of things that life has to offer. I will say lifting is very good and it is very important and is something you should try and do. Um, but letting it absorb your whole life, if you're just going to be a mediocre lifter and yeah, not going to make it your career, like with bodybuilding or strongman or powerlifting, you need to try and have other outlets and other hobbies.
And maybe try out other sports. Something that
Yeah, for sure.
you've actually that would actually be quite a surprise, especially for someone of your stature, is lifeguarding. Like you did swimming
Mhm.
a while back,
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah. I did swimming through like elementary school all the way till like eighth, seventh or eighth grade year. And yeah, for my first job was actually lifeguarding, and I did that for 2.5 years, and now I'm the front desk worker at my gym. But yeah, it was always something that I was good at, and I mean I enjoyed swimming. I always enjoyed water and the ocean. So for me, swimming was very like calming and therapeutic, just to be able to just glide through the water kind of effortlessly. Um, and then now with lifting, sadly, I've gotten very bad at swimming because muscle sadly sinks. Um, but with my stature and lifeguarding, especially towards the last year and a half of me being a lifeguard, um, and me getting taller through those past year and a half, 2 years, I realized I could, if I did need to save someone that was out of my potential reach of touching the bottom of the pool, it wouldn't be an issue because I was able to be able to touch the floor the whole time. Granted, I we when we would do our week or not weekly, our monthly training just to go brush over our skills and stuff, I was always the one that was able to save everyone with the most ease, just because I always made sure I knew my saves very well when I was doing the class, and I always remembered the info and brushed up on my stuff when I needed to and felt rusty on it. Um, but yeah, swimming was very much like a weird sport um, when I was doing it, because it very much was perceived as like the girlier sport, kind of like a cheerleading or a tennis kind of thing. And it wasn't that bad. I definitely think swimming is a very good sport, especially if you are getting into physical activity. It's challenging, but it's very good to pick up. Swimming is a very good skill to know. Um, and I it was interesting to see and think back to it now, how I was a swimmer and I enjoyed swimming, and now I'm weightlifting, because they are not really connected at all. You would
Yeah.
think I would have done football or soccer or something.
Maybe basketball with
Um,
how tall you are or something.
yeah, but I also think, to me, and that's why I was attracted to powerlifting so much, especially thinking about it now, is I was not very much a fan of team sports as a kid. I played a little bit of American flag football in elementary school, and I did not enjoy having teammates that didn't really care about the game or playing. And with swimming, it's a race against yourself and the other people around you, and you are not doing a team thing unless you do like a relay or something like that. So I enjoyed it being just me versus other people and me against myself. And that's why I think I like powerlifting too, is because all I have to worry about is my total, getting my total better for next meet, and the other people that are in my weight class, and or if I compete in open, the other people that are lifting around me, and that's it. And I don't have to worry about my teammate ruining the game because he didn't want to work on the pass or didn't want to put in the time and effort that I did for the same game. And that's just kind of something I've just realized over time, because I tried to do American football once or twice in high school, and I wasn't a fan of the teams. I wasn't a fan of the people the coaches, and I wasn't a fan of the people that were in the teams and making the plays. So I just called it.
Man, yeah, see, hearing all that, it reminds me so much of Greg Lehman, and I know that you were also a big fan of Greg Lehman as well. Like very similar philosophies when it came to team sports, where like you said, like I put in the effort for this sport. Why should I lose just because my teammates didn't put in the same effort I did?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And and with no, yeah, I'm a big fan of George Lehman, and I still follow. I mean, I still follow his stuff to today. But yeah, you when you showed me him, I was like, this is the kind of guy that I was looking for and needed motivation from, because he was just his stuff was crazy.
Yeah, and I
But
believe you guys come from like I'd say similar statuses as well. Like natural, really tall dude, really big dude, came from like the fat kid kind of
mhm.
spectrum of the weight classes, and then you just train and got stupidly strong.
Yeah, he did the thing that I wish I did when I started, was he like bulked up and just got strong,
Oh yeah,
just got completely like just built, jacked, just big guy, and then like uh, he got injured and then he cut down and then he got lean. But yeah, I feel like if I was able to have the confidence to do that, I would be farther along than I am right now, especially. But yeah, similar statures, similar backgrounds, and it was nice to kind of see someone like that and be like, this, he did this, I might be able to do this too. We'll see.
maybe who knows? You might be the next coming of Greg Lehman. You might be able to do
Yeah.
something that he never. I don't think he managed to do this. Like deadlift 1,000 pounds natty. I think was one of his
No,
big goals.
because he was. I don't think he did, because you remember the timeline was he did like I think some 920 or something for a double,
Yeah, I
and
mean
and
he
it
got pretty
was.
damn close. It's
Oh,
pretty
he
cool.
got very close. He did like 1050 on a rack pull,
Yeah.
and he was like, yeah, I could deadlift this, but I just need to peak for it. And then he injured his spinal erector like a week or two before Giants Live, which I think is the same Giants Live, if I'm not mistaken, where Eddie pulled 500.
Maybe. I mean, it's been a
It
while.
might, I might be wrong with that, but I just remember hearing about that and seeing it. And I was like, that sucks. But yeah, it that is definitely like a goal. Is if the cards are right, and if I'm patient enough, being able to deadlift 1,000 pounds natty would be an insane goal.
Oh yeah, that
Uh,
you'd be immortalized in history. Honestly, in powerlifting, I say, regardless of whatever your age
yeah,
was at that time, especially doing it
definitely.
raw.
Yeah, yeah. But powerlifting is a crazy sport, and I love it to death. And with this with everything that I've been through and I've seen and how I've changed, I've realized that just uh, I need to be grateful for what I have. And like we're talking with George Lehman, seeing him still enjoy training even after he stopped pursuing his goals is just where I hope to be when I stop. And I think that's just the goal, is just you can pursue it to a point, and if you get there, you get there, and you can keep lifting and keeping yourself healthy afterward, happy. And if you don't get there, it's not the end of the world, and it's still your life, and there's still so many other things outside of the gym,
Oh,
and that's just, you need to be able to pursue other things.
definitely, man, definitely. It's something that I think our more zealous young demographic could learn a bit from. Like always overzealous with the lifting. It's a war. It's everything in
Mhm.
their life. Like chill out, man. It's more to life than just picking up metal and then putting it back down.
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot more to life.
So I think we've actually have enough. Reached close to the amount of time that we have now. It's been great, honestly, having you.
Yeah,
I
for
wish
sure.
I made this idea sooner because you, Ice, and so many others are gonna have so much to talk about and to give out back to the
Oh, it's gonna be
community.
great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about this, and I didn't run it by you. And I can run it by you after this if we're done if you want to wrap it up. But yeah, it's been great. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, and
So fun.
definitely, I'm definitely gonna want to bring you on after your meet. So like, like this is like your
Yes,
post meet sort of mentality, or whatever. And then after meet, how it went and everything. I'm definitely
Mhm.
gonna bring you on for that one.
For sure. For sure. I'm down.
Yeah, and obviously a big shout out and thanks again to Picturefit for creating this community and allowing stuff like this to happen. Honestly, to have to cultivate such great talents, such great youth, and to even allow this to happen, to bring them on to this podcast, to have them
Yeah.
talk more about themselves. His socials are obviously going to be in the description as usual, and this time I'm definitely going to have David's socials, so you can all follow him down in the description. You can also follow Matt Vena. You can link me Matt Vena's stuff later on. I'll link it in the
Yeah.
description as well.
For
And
sure.
if you do follow David on TikTok or Instagram, do hit him up. Say hi. Say thank you for being on the show, or just as a big inspiration as he is, whatever. He's always down for some DMs.
Yeah, for
And
sure. And if you need advice, I'm always open. I'll try to respond when I can. Yeah.
And remember, he's also in the server, so do drop by in the server, say hello, and we'll help you out if you have any goals or stuff that you need to learn about.
For
And
sure.
let's not forget PF's trademark phrase. You ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Get your protein.
Get your protein.
But one day, one of these days, one of these guys is gonna get it right. And remember, it depends.
I knew it was something to do with protein, and I was like, oh, I know it. I know it. It's there. You got it.
It's kind of ironic how we've been in this community for so long and we still can't get it right.
No, we can't.
Yeah. But I believe that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in, and bye bye. Thanks for watching.
See ya. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man.